Hello and welcome back. Well, to the war in Ukraine now, and Russia has launched a wave of drone strikes at Kyiv earlier this morning, with blasts ringing out across the Ukrainian capital. Now, it comes as the head of the US military has said that it's too early to say whether Ukraine's summer offensive against Russia has failed. Well, former military and intelligence and security officer Ingram has the very latest developments on the ground.
Well, it's day 564 of Vladimir Putin's 10-day special military operation, and we're back to drone attacks in Kyiv again, and unconfirmed drone attacks by Ukraine into Crimea. No reports of any casualties, and Ukraine has claimed that it shot down all of the drones that were fired at it. Looking more into what's happening on the ground, and we had that press conference in the United States with General Milley and Admiral Radikin, the head of the US Armed Forces and the head of the British Armed Forces, where they were describing what was going on in the advances on the ground. Now, Ukraine is still counterattacking tactically in three areas: towards Bakhmut to the south, to Advika, and down towards Robotyne with an objective of Tokmak. And when General Milley was asked whether the Ukrainians were having any success or whether it was failing, he said it's too early. He said it's too early because what has been happening with planning on paper is very different to the reality of what's going on the ground. And Admiral Radikin turned around and said, actually, when you put it into a wider context and look at what is happening in Russia and the position that Russia's in, it is quite clear that Ukraine is winning. And with that, in looking at what Russia is doing, Russia's having to rely on some interesting relationships. And we saw earlier in July Shoigu, the defence minister from Russia, visiting North Korea and Kim Jong-un, and this huge defence exhibition. That's turned into Kim Jong-un now coming or saying that he's planning a visit to Moscow to sign a final deal to supply weapons to Russia. Now, if Russia is having to rely on North Korea for weapons, that ties in with what Admiral Radikin was saying, the desperate state that Russia is in from a military perspective, and that Ukraine is winning.